this is the Journey Till podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Donati. I believe life is about the journey, not the destination. To find the journey in every step of the road, the highs and lows, the twists and turns, the ups and downs. It's in those moments that really makes life so beautiful. Our guest today has a journey of her own. Veronika Mudra is the CEO and founder of White Ribbon USA. White Ribbon USA's mission is to reduce and prevent domestic violence. Please help me welcome Veronika to the show. Veronika, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Sean, for this invitation. It's a pleasure to meet you, and it's a pleasure to talk to you today.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk with you. I want to first really start off with talking honestly about COVID, because it's just crazy conditions, I feel like right now. We've been under the pandemic for a year and a half or so at the moment. What has that been like for you, as an entrepreneur? How have you been able to shift in these moments of the unknown?
I think as for every nonprofit, it was very challenging because it was an unexpected circumstance that is very hard to deal with. So because nonprofit is tightly connected to all in-person activities, services. So we had to adjust our mission and our services to basically online virtual reality. So, but at the same time, we learned a lot, and we learned how to transform our activities more into online space. So we can reach out to more people virtually. So we learned something good out of it as well.
So in other words, you're just you took the bad, or what we consider the bad, and you found a way to make it good for your company.
Yeah, literally we, made lemonade out of lemons in this case, if I can say so. So basically he taught us a lot that we should be more present online, that we should be more present in virtual space in the form of mobile applications, for example, and in the form of more virtual activities and virtual events. So we learned from this for sure.
Are you nervous at all with the rise of these different infections and this new variant? Does that make you nervous of how you may shift moving forward, or do you feel comfortable with what you've done, that you're okay to kind of ride through anything at this point?
Basically, I feel really bad because a lot of shelters, specifically for women, they have very strict rules and regulations, and it's understandable because that's a city requirement, right? But if we want to bring, for example, services for women who live and temporarily at the shelters, it's very hard to do that. So I really feel bad because of specifically this part. And we, for example, wanted to bring an employment program to women who are domestic violence victims and who live in shelters with their children. But we couldn't do that because of very strict COVID rules and regulations when women cannot leave shelters. So they had to decide whether they will stay without an accommodation or without a job outside of the shelter. So that part was and still is very difficult.
Got it. Wow, I never even thought about that. It's amazing how this, has affected literally every single industry, I feel like, across the board in ways that a lot of times as I talk to people, I didn't even think about.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, on a personal level, it's a time, I think, for all of us to readjust ourselves, to do something that we didn't have time before for ourselves maybe, but on a professional level it's very challenging. It's very difficult, and there are just rules and regulations that are so strict that they you cannot obey them, you need to follow them, but at the same time it's difficult to comply sometimes with the rules when you want to do something good, when you want to bring like employment and educational programs to shelters, but women technically cannot leave shelters to attend those programs. That's kind of very, very challenging.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Let's dive in a bit into White Ribbon and to your program, to your company, and why this is important to you. So you're the CEO and the founder of White Ribbon, and White Ribbon USA is connected to the greater campaign, the Global White Ribbon Campaign, that I know was actually originated in Canada back in 1991 and has really deep roots in the efforts to address men about gender-based discrimination against women and gender equality. Talk to me about that campaign specifically and why it's important for your company to be in alignment.
Basically, I came across White Ribbon campaign myself about 8 years ago when I was immigrating from Ukraine to the United States under domestic violence protection program. So I was myself in that situation and that position that I was looking for help. And my friend introduced me to this campaign, and I was amazed by the concept, because when men stand against domestic violence towards women, that's a very, very compelling and strong concept, because it's very gender balanced from one side. From another side, men recognizing domestic violence issue, it's a very strong statement in nowadays society. And we know a lot of movements for women's rights, a lot of movements against domestic violence, but that's the White Ribbon campaign is the first and the largest movement of boys and men standing against domestic violence towards women. And this campaign, it has a great legacy, great history, more than 30 years. It's present around the world in more than 63 countries. So I became first CEO of White Ribbon in Ukraine. And after that, we established White Ribbon in the US on federal level. We are based in Los Angeles, California, and we are opening a new office in New York under White Ribbon New York.
I think it's so amazing what this is all about, especially because the narrative also is to men. And I feel that, oftentimes the narrative is catered strictly to women. And so I think it's important to shine some light for men too, and give them some positivity. Is there a story that you're open to telling or sharing with the audience of of a man or men and how they have, flourished from this program, from the positivity that you guys have been teaching through your teachings?
So the concept of men standing against violence that originated in Canada is probably present the most in Canada. So only men, decision makers, influencers, politicians, athletes, they are White Ribbon ambassadors. Here in the United States, we're trying to do campaigns that are more gender neutral. We're trying to equally engage men and women in our programs. But I personally, it's very personally interesting for me to see how understanding the roots of domestic violence among men are important to eliminate domestic violence today, because many researchers show that men who experience domestic violence in childhood or violence at households in any form or shape are like most likely they will end up being abusers or victims of domestic violence in grown-up lives. So my understanding that the mission of White Ribbon is to overcome domestic violence and its main reasons. So even I think that, we're not a prosecution service. We don't judge people. So I think everybody have second chance. And even men who had a history of abuse towards women, they also can change. They also can re-evaluate their behavior and actually become really legit advocates against domestic violence. Because when men explaining why domestic violence should be eliminated to other men, it's very powerful. So basically, women don't do domestic violence against each other, correct?
That's true.
So there, in majority of cases, the violence occurs between partners when men violating women. So when men explain to other male audience why this behavior is unacceptable, then I think we have higher chances to eliminate the shameful phenomena. And even if this man had such history in past of violent behavior, I think everybody deserves second chance, everybody. And that's why this campaign is so important, because it's very accessible. It's decentralized grassroots campaign, meaning everybody can join. You don't need to be a high profile politician or decision maker or a celebrity to become a supporter of White Ribbon Campaign, because you can organize your own local White Ribbon Campaign in your city, in your town, basically at the university, at any facility. So that's why this campaign probably became so popular, because everybody can join, everybody can do White Ribbon Initiative at their own local levels.
That's beautiful. I know that you are a refugee yourself. You're a victim of domestic violence. Can you take me into that mindset? What was that experience like for you? When did you realize enough was enough and you needed to make some changes?
So I was born in Ukraine, and mentality of women and upbringing of girls in Ukraine is very different from United States. So we are taught probably since young age to tolerate a lot, and that men kind of have this inherited right to treat women in different ways, and it's okay to tolerate everything. And when I was immigrating back in 2013, there was no law at all against domestic violence. So there were no restraining orders. There was no legislative protection at any level. And so when I faced threats and when I faced a situation that was already, I couldn't tolerate it, I couldn't protect my basic human rights in Ukraine. Like, I just couldn't, because I could go to police, but they will not start any criminal investigation about it. Like, they couldn't do anything without the law.
Yeah.
So, and I was studying in Ukraine, in the US. I had a lot of friends in California. I used to live in Israel, in Italy, in New York, in LA. So my first response was to immigrate from Ukraine to another country. And I knew that California is a champion among other states, probably in the United States, and in the field of human rights protection and women's rights protection. So I thought that California will be the best place for me to live with my child, because he was two years old at that time.
Wow. Were you, I mean, at that moment, how afraid were you to leave, or was there fear there, or was there not any fear?
It's very life-changing decision to pack a suitcase and leave with your child to another country on my own. I didn't have any family here. I had like few friends and few people I knew from before, because I used to study here. So, but it was like not like my close, they were not my close friends. So I basically just left on my own to a new country, and I didn't know exactly what to expect. I knew I had to change my life. I knew I had to start from zero. So I left everything behind. I left my property, I left cars, I left everything. I just packed one suitcase with me and one suitcase for my child. And we came with two suitcases here. So it was very challenging. Yeah.
Okay, so you're here with two suitcases for yourself and your son, your child. How, at that moment, how do you then get to the next step? If you can take us through the journey.
So the next step, I was trying to start life from zero, basically just to work hard and to forget everything what's happening in Ukraine and just to build a new life for me and my son. But my ex boyfriend, he was trying to take a kid away from me from the United States. So instead of me being really working and thinking about building up my career, I started to protect my child from not being taken away from United States. So that's how I started to be an active member of White Ribbon Campaign, because we got an asylum under domestic violence, me and my child. But I didn't know that government couldn't protect my child from being taken away because he's still a father, even with the criminal investigations going on in Ukraine, even with the confirmed asylum status in the United States. There was a Hague Convention, still is, that is not reformed in domestic violence aspect. So he was able to claim a child to be returned back to Ukraine. So I had to start public activity in Ukraine and to shed light on domestic violence during the time in Ukraine that it was all about political revolutions and nobody really cared about women's rights or domestic violence at all. Nobody was really publicly talking about it. So I had to go back to Ukraine. I had to apply to parliament, to the president of Ukraine. I had to apply to the US embassy, to national police, to start the campaign, White Ribbon Ukraine, so I could protect my rights and my kids' rights, my child's rights. So basically, I've done everything from A to Z on my personal experience, so I can live in the United States in peace and that I can be protected here.
What do you do? How do you stay motivated right now?
Right now, I mean, comparing to situation we've been in 10 years ago, right now I have a nonprofit organization that is my passion project. I do real estate. I'm establishing affordable housing business as well. So, I mean, I'm just very grateful. That's the only thing I can say, because this country gave us a shelter. This country gave us a new opportunity in life and new future for me and my child. So I completely changed, like 180 degrees completely. It was like a big change. It's just being an immigrant and single mom. It was and it is still very challenging.
I understand. How do you dive deep internally so that you're able to give in all these different capacities for yourself? Do you meditate? Do you do yoga? Do you exercise? Do you do some sort of spiritual practice? Is there, what do you do? What is your must that you must do to be able to give so easily in all these different capacities?
My father, he was an artist. He was a photographer and architect. So recently I started to do a photography just as a hobby. And I also started to paint sometimes. So I don't really meditate, but I found out for myself that having like a hobby, like a really like some passion hobby in your life is very significant. And art really talks to me and because of my upbringing. So I basically just enjoy taking pictures of people, of nature. And that's my meditation probably.
What's 3 tips? 3 tips you can give a listener or a viewer out there that may be a domestic violence victim? What's some advice you can give to help them just push through?
I think that for women, it's very essential what kind of a partner we choose. And sometimes our personal life decisions go against logic. They go against probably our best interests. And I think that for women, it's very important to know and to understand who is a person next to you, like who is my life partner. Because women, they're willing to sacrifice a lot for the sake of love, for the sake of family, to keep family together. So I think that the first question that we as women should have, and men as well, because domestic violence goes both ways, right? Is it a person next to me? Is it the right person for me for life? If there is some kind of discomfort, I think the first question, am I able to tolerate it? And for in terms of domestic violence, everything starts within a family, right? Within a household. So sometimes divorce is not the best solution. Sometimes maybe two people should try to work it out together. But when the line is crossed and there is no way back, then a woman always should ask herself, am I willing to tolerate it more? Or maybe it's better to move on and to start a new life.
Do you ever have a moment now, even though, obviously things are different than when you first came here to America, do you ever have a time that you're open to sharing that you just said, you know what, I just, I can't do this. I'm done. I want to walk away. I'm an entrepreneur. I own a PR company separate from being the host on this show. And there have been, I'm 14 years in as an entrepreneur, and there have been many times, being transparent, that I have said, you know what, that's it. I'm done. I may not speak it, but I think it. And at that moment, something happens. There's a shift there, which I don't follow through on it. Well, a different client comes or a different something comes, and I'm back excited again. Has that happened to you? Have you gone through something in this time, even though things are much better, where you're just kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I can't do this. And what was the key moment that kind of brought you back?
Women are still subject to so many stigmas and prejudgments that on the top of our everyday life and on top of our career goals, we sometimes deal with public opinion, right? And we're influenced by public opinion. And I think like every day is a new fight in some sense. And sometimes it's so overwhelming that you want to quit. For sure, because running a nonprofit, because I was modeling before, right? So, and when I just came here with my 2-year-old kid, very young, with, this so-called Russian accent, I was a subject to so many stigmas because I'm an immigrant, because I'm a woman from Eastern Europe, coming here, trying to make it work, and at the same time running this nonprofit that didn't bring me money at all, because it was like my passion project. I was trying to get to real estate pretty much since I just immigrated here. So it was very challenging. I was thinking why I need all this, why I need this to run this nonprofit, if I can just live quiet life and just trying to make it work for myself. But deep inside of me, I know that everything I've been through in both countries, because my case is the only case between two countries, the United States and Ukraine, when I got an asylum, when I protected my child, to be here in the United States. I've been through so many experiences with working with governments, with parliaments, with presidents, just to protect my basic human rights. Then I was like, that cannot be it. I need to keep on to bring my experience. Maybe that will help and encourage someone to change their lives. But also because I was a victim of domestic violence, and my personal choices were not that great, right, in different times of my life. So I was also sometimes double questioning myself, do I have even a right to run this campaign when I was a subject to violence myself? Am I a good example for other young women and girls not to tolerate certain situations in life. So it's like every day I'm questioning myself, and there are some stressful moments in life when I'm like, okay, you know what, it's not. But then something deep inside of me is saying that if it's the destiny, if it's meant to be yours, you need to fight for it. And no matter what people say, you just need to follow your intuition and your beliefs and your blessings.
Finish the sentence, please. I'm
a believer and I'm a fighter.
And a master of
reinventing myself.
Who can control
life without control.
Mm.
It's a very big illusion we can control something. Seriously.
Yes, I love that. That's beautiful. All right, I would like to wrap up with a segment that I call Tell and Tell, which is a play on the word show and tell. What is something that you can tell us about yourself that you have not yet shared with the world, a secret, if you will, that you can tell us?
It's probably the personal experience and the reasons why even I was tolerating that much in my life. Why, if I really believe in certain values for women, why I was tolerating myself certain unacceptable behavior. What's wrong with me that made me tolerate, that made me stay, that made me forgive? Why I was trying to make it work when I see it was not in my best favor. I guess so, yes.
Okay. Well, if someone wants to follow you on your journey, how can they go about doing so?
So I wanted to add, because our conversation was kind of more personal today, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I didn't have a chance to speak about the programs, amazing programs that White Ribbon does.
Well, tell me. Let's talk about it. Let's go there. Yes.
So basically, one of our most successful campaigns is with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. And we have a White Ribbon Pledge. That's a new form of joining to the White Ribbon by taking an online pledge. That tool we learned during pandemic. So we became active in virtual space. So on our website, whiteribbonyusa.org, any person can join our movement by just taking a pledge. It's a personal commitment to never commit, excuse, or remain silent about violence towards women. That's a very simple sentence, but it's a very deep statement on a personal level. So if someone can join, they can just log in, they just go to our website and take a pledge. And we had more than 12,000 veterans already pledged to White Ribbon under this White Ribbon joint campaign with Department of Veterans Affairs. And also we're trying to establish the first in the US mobile application for domestic violence victims of full cycle of help, meaning that we're trying to combine all existence tools for domestic violence victims to protect themselves. And it's kind of sort of one-on-one immediate help, like one platform that combines everything, resources about how to get restraining orders, where to find legal help or pro bono help, how to find a shelter and put yourself in a waiting list or reserve a place in a shelter. So this kind of a tool is still non-existent on federal level in the US. So that's what we're trying to achieve in the nearest time, in the nearest future. So, but we also produced a short film about refugees and immigrants under domestic violence protection program in the US, aimed to change the Hague Convention in domestic violence aspect. It will be hopefully released soon, early next year. And the working title of the short film is called Reunited. It was shot by a female film director Indrani from New York. We had a great team from New York and amazing actors and all people involved in this project. So this is coming up shortly. It's in very, very brief.
Wow, that is awesome. I want to mention that White Ribbon has been endorsed by a plethora of A-list celebrities, including President Joe Biden, David Beckham, Reese Witherspoon. How does that feel for you to have that level of endorsement attached to your company?
Basically, a true campaign, a true intentions will always find people around who are willing to support. So, and that's because this is a campaign made by people for people. It's decentralized. Everybody can join. And the fact that government paid attention to our campaign and started to basically help us to promote White Ribbon on federal level, that was a big thing for us, amazing thing. And I will be forever grateful for that. And I mean, White Ribbon ambassadors around the world are prominent men like David Beckham, Paul McCartney, Karl Lagerfeld was also supportive of White Ribbon. So it's great to see how people use their fame and legacy to do good for others and to do good in this world. Because there are a lot of people who have power, who have fame, but not everybody using that tool, amazing tool, to basically to do something better for other people. So the more celebrities doing good and or decision makers, the better our world can be. So I just encourage a lot of people who have that potential and ability to bring awareness on a bigger scale. I'm always like welcoming them to join White Ribbon if they can just spread awareness about domestic violence, and we'll be forever grateful for that.
All right. Well, if someone wants to be part of all of this and just follow along with you, follow your journey, follow the campaign, be part of any of these initiatives, how can they go about doing so?
Just go. I encourage everyone, just go on our website, whiteribbon.usa.org, read the list of programs. Maybe you feel something compelled, maybe feel compelled to some of the programs. Maybe you want to participate in some of our programs, or just take a pledge on a personal level and just for yourself, just commit to yourself not to tolerate domestic violence, not to yourself and not to others. And that's the best it can be. Everything starts from our personal decision. So just by going on the website, spending 2 minutes, taking a pledge, it will already make some difference for yourself and maybe for your family, for your friends. So just spread the word about standing against the violence.
And making the pledge, I think just giving the effort, knowing that, writing that probably does something also to your mentality to make you enforce it. So it's beautiful. It's wonderful what you're doing. It's amazing what you're doing all across the globe. Thank you so much for your contribution to the world. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing these nuggets, these life nuggets that both women and men need to hear. I thank you. I'm sure the world thanks you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And I want to add that at some point in my life, this campaign, it helped me to heal myself. And I'm still healing. And I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But at least I was trying to do an effort to have a better life, and for myself and my child. So any effort you take, whether it's a pledge or participating in a campaign, or just saying to yourself that I want to change my life for better, it's already an action that will bring results. It's better than doing nothing, for sure. So if you want to change your life, start from yourself. Nobody's perfect, and it's okay when we make mistakes, and it's okay when we make bad decisions. It's okay, it's okay not to be perfect. I think that's very important to remember.
True. It's okay. Well, that is it for this episode of the Journey Told Show. I'm going to leave you with words that my father would so often say to me, and that's to be the best version of you that you can be. Until next time, folks, let that sizzle in your spirit.